Hi, friends. How was your day at Compassion Camp today? I hope that you thought of all the really cool ways that you can be brave and show brave compassion. Last time we learned that compassion begins with seeing and welcoming. Today we learned that compassion helps us be brave. Being brave sometimes means that we don't know what will happen when we show up. The friend who was paralyzed didn't know his friend would help him. He didn't know if he would get to see Jesus. The friends didn't know what would happen when they got to the house to see Jesus. Maybe they wouldn't get into the house. Maybe the religious leaders or even Jesus would see them and turn them away. Maybe the friend who was paralyzed wouldn't have received the healing miracle. So I want you to take a couple minutes and ponder these questions. How were the friends brave? How was the friend who was paralyzed brave? Who else do you think was brave in the story today? Compassion helped each of them be brave. The friend who was paralyzed had courage that helped him trust his friends and ask Jesus for help. The friend's courage made them determined to do what they could to help him. Jesus' courage showed the friend who was paralyzed he was loved and accepted. We can be brave because we are filled with God's love, and God always promises to be with us. Let's sing our song, Brave Enough, together.
Hi, today we're going to learn a song called Brave Enough. We learned the story about a man who was paralyzed, whose friends were very brave to bring him to Jesus, and they had to do the extraordinary thing of going through the roof of that home to have Jesus see the man and to heal him. The man himself had a lot of faith, but the friends had a lot of faith too, and they knew that the right thing to do was to make sure that he got to see Jesus. So this song, Brave Enough, we're going to use some of the signs that we learned yesterday, and we'll learn a few more signs too. We, you already know from yesterday. We. It's the same sign as us. Brave is to think of our muscles and going down into our fists. Brave, brave. And you can even use a facial expression of brave. We are brave enough to love. We are brave enough to show compassion from our heart to your heart. Thinking of our feelings and your feelings, that we understand each other. Show compassion. We are brave enough to listen and tell the truth. Here's the word for truth, a sign for truth. Our flat hand and 2 fingers, truth. Truth. So listen and tell the truth. And here's how that goes with the melody. We are brave enough to love. We are brave enough to show compassion. We are brave enough to listen and tell the truth. So let's try it with the signs too. We'll go a little slower first time. We are brave enough to love. We are brave enough to show compassion. We are brave enough to listen and tell the truth. Should we do it again? Good. Here's the second half of the song. We can be brave. We already know those. We can be brave. We can be brave. We sing that one twice because we're filled with love. Here's like a cup of water or something. I don't know. Filled. 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 Because we're filled with love from the bottom of God's heart. We're going to do the sign for God first. This is just a flat hand sideways, turned outward and down, up and down. God, or God's. God's bottom of his heart. It's a sign for bottom of my heart, but we'll use God's heart. Because we're filled with love from the bottom of God's heart. Because we're filled with love from the bottom of God's heart. We can be brave. We can be brave. And here's how the melody goes for that second half. We can be brave. We can be brave. Because we're filled with love from the bottom of God's heart. We can be brave. We can be brave. So now let's try it with the signs. This is the second half of the song. We can be brave. We can be brave. Because we're filled with love from the bottom of God's heart. We can be brave. We can be brave. So let's try the whole song. We are brave enough to love. We are brave enough to show compassion. We are brave enough to listen and tell the truth. We repeat that. We are brave enough to love. We are brave enough to show compassion. We are brave enough to listen and tell the truth. We can be brave. We can be brave. Because we're filled with love from the bottom of God's heart. We can be brave. We can be brave. And I'm going to do this song one more time too. If you don't want to sing it a second time, that's okay. And you can just turn off the video now. Otherwise, I'm going to do it one more time. And you can join in the signs and the singing with me. We are brave enough to love. We are brave enough to show compassion. We are brave enough to listen and tell the truth. Whoops. We are brave enough to love. We are brave enough to show compassion. We are brave enough to listen and tell the truth. We can be brave. We can be brave. Because we're filled with love from the bottom of God's heart. We can be brave.
Okay, friends, I hope that today you've also had some time to color some of your word reflection sheet. If not, that's okay. You can always do it another day. When we see people are sad, happy, lonely, and scared, we feel it with them. That's our empathy. That's the first step to act on our empathy. We follow the example of Jesus' compassion. Sometimes it is helping someone do something hard. Sometimes it's being honest about who we are and what we need. Sometimes it is showing love and acceptance to the person in front of us. These things can be hard. We can trust God to give us the courage to be brave with our compassion. Let us close in the same way we opened today. We place one hand on our head and one hand on our heart. We do this because compassion happens in our brains and we often feel it in our hearts. Repeat after me. Dear Jesus, your compassion always looked like courage. Strengthen our hearts with your bravery as we reach out, and lift up our siblings near and far. Help us to keep our eyes on you. Amen. Okay, friends, I hope to see you tomorrow again. Have a great night.